Okay, stop. Forget everything you think you know about apex predators. You picture a lion, a tiger, a T-Rex, you see claws, you see speed, you see teeth designed for tearing flesh. What if I told you there was something that looked like a monster wolf, longer than a bear, with a head bigger than a T-Rex, teeth like a shark, but instead of claws, it had hooves. Yeah, hooves, like a sheep, or a cow, or, get this, like a freaking hippo. This isn't some fever dream I had after too much pizza. This is Andrewsarchus, the largest terrestrial carnivorous mammal that has ever, to our knowledge, walked the earth. And its entire existence is an evolutionary jump scare. Its peak, nature you crazy energy. For decades, when paleontologists first stumbled upon its skull, they thought, okay, this is a mesonicid, a cousin to those wolf-like bone crushers that roamed ancient Earth. And yes, it was. But then, the deeper they dug, the more they looked at the bones, the more they pieced together the puzzle, the more disturbing the truth became. Andrewsarchus, this absolute unit of a predator, this 2,000-pound engine of destruction, this beast with a head so massive it could chomp a man's torso in one bite, was more closely related to, wait for it, whales and hippos. Let that sink in. A killer land whale, a hooved harbinger of doom. Imagine a creature that looks like it should be hunting mammoths in a pack, but it's basically the land-based cousin of an orca. It's the ultimate disdirection. It's the sheep in wolf's clothing, if the sheep weighed a ton and could snap you in half. Picture this. It's the Eocene epoch, roughly 45 to 36 million years ago. Asia isn't the vast, dry continent we know today. Think lush subtropical forests, steamy swamps, and meandering rivers that snake their way to ancient coastlines. The air is thick with humidity. The smell of damp earth and decaying vegetation hangs heavy, occasionally mixed with the musky scent of large mammals, and undoubtedly the metallic tang of blood. The sounds? A chorus of unseen insects, the rustle of giant ferns, the splash of something huge moving through the murk, and then a bone-shattering crunch that echoes through the canopy. That, my friends, is the sound of Andrewsarchus. This animal, I'm telling you, was an anomaly. Its head alone was almost 3 feet long. 3 feet! That's longer than some small dogs are from nose to tail. Now, stick that on a body that stretched up to 12 feet, standing about 6 feet at the shoulder, with powerful, stocky limbs that ended not in claws, but in hooves. Seriously, those are not the feet of a conventional predator. Those are the feet of something that should be grazing, or maybe charging in a herd. But no, Andrewsarchus took those hooves and decided, you know what? I'm going to be the scariest thing you've ever seen. Its skull, the famous Andrewsarchus mongoliensis, discovered in the Gobi Desert in 1923 by the legendary Roy Chapman Andrews, yes, the guy who inspired Indiana Jones, is a masterpiece of destructive engineering. It's low-slung, broad, with a snout that ends in a blunt, almost pig-like fashion. But don't let that fool you. Inside that formidable head were teeth that tell a story of pure, unadulterated power. We're talking incisors that could root and tear, massive canines for gripping, and molars that weren't just for slicing meat like a wolf's. Oh no, these were bone-crushing grinders designed to pulverize. They weren't just for slicing, they were for shattering. Imagine that sound, the splintering of bone, the tearing of tendon, the sheer force required to achieve it. This wasn't an animal that chased down agile deer. Those hooves, while capable of carrying its immense weight, weren't built for a long-distance sprint. Andrewsarchus was a different kind of hunter. It was a siege weapon, a living tank. Its prey wasn't fast, its prey was tough. Think about the armored megafauna of the Eocene. Giant, slow-moving tortoises with shells thicker than dinner plates. Early rhinos, bulky and powerful. Enormous hooved herbivores like brontotheres, which were basically rhinoceroses on steroids. These animals had natural defenses designed to withstand everything short of an asteroid impact. And then Andrewsarchus rolled up, looked at their armor, and said, "Hold my beer." The theory is that Andrewsarchus was an opportunistic hunter and scavenger.
It might have ambushed animals at watering holes or targeted the young, the old, or the injured. But given its powerful bite and crushing teeth, it didn't just go for the soft spots, it went for everything. It specialized in cracking open the toughest targets. A giant tortoise shell? No problem. A Brontotheri's thick skull? A mere snack. It was the ultimate tank hunter of its era, reducing the most heavily armored creatures to piles of shattered bone and sinew. This wasn't graceful, balletic predation. This was brutal, raw, divisive force. Let's talk about that jaw for a second. Its length and musculature suggest incredible bite strength, far surpassing any modern land carnivore. When scientists modeled the forces that jaw could exert, it's horrifying. It wasn't just about sharp teeth, it was about sheer crushing pressure. Think of it like a biological vice, clamping down with thousands of pounds per square inch. You wouldn't just be bitten, you'd be pulverized. Your bones would liquefy. That's nightmare fuel right there. So, how did this thing end up with hooves and related to whales? This is where the story gets really wild. For a long time, based on that famous skull, Andrewsarchus was lumped in with the Mesonychidae, an extinct order of carnivorous ungulates. Yes, I said carnivorous ungulates. Ungulates are typically hooved plant eaters, but mesonychids were predators. They were a bizarre evolutionary experiment, a branch of mammals that went down a predatory path before the development of specialized carnivore teeth like those of modern cats and dogs. They had simple, conical teeth, almost blunt, perfect for bone crushing. They were the original bone wolves of their time. But the plot twist came with deeper phylogenetic analysis. DNA studies, on living relatives of course, Andrewsarchus is a bit too old for that, and detailed examinations of skeletal structures, particularly the ankle bones and teeth, started to reveal something astounding. Mesonychids, and by extension Andrewsarchus, are now considered basal members of the Artiodactyla, the even-toed ungulates. This is the group that includes deer, cows, pigs, giraffes, hippos, and whales.
Yes, whales. Our modern whales and dolphins, the majestic creatures of the deep, evolved from small, hoofed, deer-like animals that decided the land was boring and the ocean was where the action was. Their closest living relatives? Hippos. And Andrewsarchus, this terrifying, hooved, bone-crushing giant, shared a common ancestor with those very same hippos and the ancestors of whales. It's like a distant, slightly unhinged uncle who never got the memo about moving to the sea. He just kept perfecting his land-based bone-crunching game while his cousins were off becoming leviathans. Imagine the family reunion. Oh, there's Barnaby, still stomping around on land, still covered in the blood of some poor Brontothere. Meanwhile, cousin Moby Dick is out here singing songs with his pod. It's an absurd image, but it highlights the sheer evolutionary weirdness of Andrewsarchus. It's a terrestrial whale that chose not to whale. It's a land-based hippopotamus that decided to eat meat instead of grass. It's like finding out your goldfish is actually a distant relative of a grizzly bear. It just doesn't compute with our usual categories. This connection to artiodactyls explains the hooves. It wasn't some strange adaptation to a predatory lifestyle. It was a relict feature from its evolutionary lineage. It was a predator that never lost its family's feet. And those feet would have been perfect for navigating the muddy, swampy terrain of the Eocene. While modern claws grip, these hooves would have provided stability, preventing it from sinking too deep into the mire. They would have been broad, splayed out, giving it a solid base to push off from when ambushing prey or scavenging a massive carcass. I imagine them not as neat, pointed hooves, but heavy, blunted tools for traction, probably caked in mud and blood. The environment of Eocene Asia was ripe for such a specialist. The lush forests and warm climate fostered an explosion of large herbivores. There were plenty of slow, chunky targets and not a lot of predators perfectly equipped to take them down. Andrewsarchus stepped into that niche not as a nimble stalker, but as a relentless, unstoppable force. It didn't need speed when it had a jaw that could turn bone to paste. It didn't need stealth when it could just overpower anything it encountered. What about its lifestyle? Was it solitary? Likely. A creature of that size and power probably didn't need to share its kills. Imagine the territorial displays, the sheer intimidation factor. If you were another predator in that Eocene landscape, say an early creodont, a wolf-like mammal from a different evolutionary branch, you'd probably give Andrewsarchus a wide berth. Its growl, a deep guttural rumble, would be enough to send shivers down the spine of anything that heard it. The sheer stench of it I can only imagine. The smell of damp fur, rotting meat clinging to its teeth, stale blood, probably a hint of the swamp it just emerged from. It would have been a walking olfactory assault. Scientists are still debating how active it was. Some imagine it as a slow, deliberate hunter ambushing prey from dense cover. Others see it as more of a scavenger, using its immense strength to crack open carcasses that other predators couldn't access, or to drive off smaller carnivores from their kills. Given the lack of a complete skeleton, it's hard to say definitively, but the skull tells a clear story. This animal was built for brutal, destructive feeding. It was a connoisseur of shattered bones and crushed carapaces. The Eocene was a time of immense evolutionary experimentation, a period of rapid diversification after the extinction event that wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs. Mammals were trying out all sorts of body plans, filling every conceivable niche. Andrewsarchus is a testament to that wild, untamed creativity of evolution. It's a creature that seems to defy logic, a predatory monster wearing the feet of a herbivore related to creatures that went on to conquer the seas. It's the ultimate hold my beer moment in evolutionary history. Its reign didn't last forever, of course. Like all evolutionary experiments, it eventually came to an end. The Eocene gave way to the Oligocene. Climates shifted, forests receded, and the world changed. Perhaps its specialized diet of slow, armored prey became less viable as those prey animals evolved or went extinct. Perhaps new, more agile and efficient predators emerged, outcompeting it. Or maybe, just maybe, evolution looked at Andrewsarchus, its grand, terrifying, hooved monstrosity, and simply said, "Okay, that was a little too much. Let's dial it back." But for a glorious, terrifying stretch of millions of years, Andrewsarchus was the undisputed heavyweight champion of terror in ancient Asia, a creature that broke all the rules, an evolutionary outlier, a paradox on four hooves. It reminds us that nature's imagination is far wilder, far more bizarre, and far more terrifying than anything we could ever dream up. We think we know the categories: predator, prey, land, sea, and then something like Andrewsarchus comes along and just laughs in the face of all our neat little boxes. It's a reminder that the deep past is a truly alien landscape, filled with wonders and nightmares beyond our immediate comprehension. If this deep dive into evolution's most bizarre creation got your brain buzzing, do me a solid and hit that like button. And if you want to keep exploring the lost worlds of our planet, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next adventure. Andrewsarchus, the giant wolf that wasn't a wolf, the land whale that never saw the ocean, the bone-crushing nightmare with feet that belong on a sheep. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that are absolutely terrifyingly true. Thanks for watching, and until next time on The Lost World.